This episode of Dissecting the 80s is brought to you by all of our fabulous Patreon supporters. If you'd like to find out more about the ways you can support the show and be in the super special club that is the Dissecting the 80s Patreon, visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. That's patreon.com/ the name of the show you're listening to right now, Dissecting the 80s. We have basically two tiers. There is also an $88 tier that no one has ever taken us up on, and I would be shocked if anyone ever did. But we have our $2 tier. You get a monthly newsletter kind of updating you on the next 3 episodes of the show, the bonus content coming your way, little short reviews of something that we've both been enjoying lately. We try to be really positive in that space instead of just, dunking on things. And, you get to get all of the updates about what's going on. You also get a lovely welcome letter signed by the two of us. So if you're really wanting our autographs, that's a way to get it. And I was going to say the sweet sticker, which I think is the best perk of that little welcome package. You get a nice little sticker. You also get some of the bonus content, but at the $5 tier, you get all of the bonus content. Right now, we are in the ballpark of 17 hours, but we're probably getting another hour and a half just around the corner here. We got 2 bonus things coming up at Christmas. One is our fabled Lost Footloose episode, which has just been recovered.
Which I have never heard. I was there.
No, yeah.
I'm not.
Okay, I would say technically you did hear it as you were there.
But that was so long ago. I truly have no idea what I said about Footloose.
So that was recorded live at the Baltimore Podcast Festival in, I think, 2018. I think that's right. I don't remember. That sounds about right. But there also maybe the full video version of that may also be available for folks on Patreon. Whatever is salvageable, I will post. And then we're going to do our special Christmas Mentary, which is just a bonus commentary that's for all Patreon supporters, not just the $5 tier. But so another hour and a half of bonus content coming your way. Merry Christmas, Rita.
A very niche reference.
I saw this great tweet that was like a map of the United States that was like,
what does November 1st mean to them?
Yes. And it was like 49 states. Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You. Pennsylvania. What a great gift.
Thanks, Joe.
The Pennsylvania lottery commercial looms large in our minds anyway. But anyway, that's all to say. You should go check that out if you haven't. It's got great stuff there, and it helps you support the show directly. So if you've interest in supporting the show that way, please go check it out. Patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am one half of the mega podcasting powers, Just the Facts, Trip Lano. And with me, as always, is a man who, according to one internet reviewer, has decided for the last 7 years, to schedule his life around being bullied on a regular basis. The Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Lano. Yeah, I mean, I assume they know we're brothers. I don't think we say it every episode, but the implication is there.
I do think that is perhaps somehow lost, even though, like, whenever we talk about stuff, it is mom singular and not like my mom. Or I guess some of the times we probably slip up and say my mom, but like we do not come out and say my brother. So maybe I should just like add that to the intro so that people. I mean,
we do have the same last name.
Yes, but that doesn't.
So we're either married or related.
Yes, that's true. But yeah, we had a.
I am fine. Thank you, reviewer, for your concern. I'm cool.
It is nice that people are concerned about your well-being, and I respect that. But I unfortunately found it looking for something else, and this is not me being like, I don't ever Google myself, because come on, I do. Like, of course I look it up. Like, Of course I spend time wondering. I'm a little bit narcissist. We all are. But in this particular instance, I wasn't like, let me see if people are saying mean things about me. I was trying to find some other piece of information about the show and found this review. And then I was just like, whoa, what a wild, I'm sure that sometimes you and I bicker a little bit. And I'm sure that in an abstract.
The only thing I can think is that maybe it was like the Heathers episode or something where we had differing opinions, which doesn't happen too often.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of that it was one of those.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like, I try to be conscious of the habits that I have as a human being and be better about them. It's like a good way to live. It's like I definitely do sometimes like disagree with you and be like, oh, come on, and kind of dismiss your point. I have done that. I'm certainly that I've done that on the show, but I there has never been a time where it's like, hey, we need to talk about the way, because I think you would bring it up like, hey, we need to talk about the way you act.
We would be mid recording and I would say it like. I'm not the kind of person that's gonna.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave this. I'm not gonna mute myself for this one. I'm gonna call you out right here, right now. Like, I would do it.
Yeah, you're being an asshole. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for your concern. I think everyone here is fine. And
to quote RuPaul's Drag Race, I hear your concerns. I do not share those same concerns.
Yeah. So that was a 1-star review that came in recently that said I was a big bully, and so I like to think that I'm not, but that's just what that is. Anyway, we're back in the 80s. It's the final Tea Hanksgiving of all time, and I'm gonna put this out there now, so you're just like prepared for it. I was gonna tell this to you off mic, and then I decided I would say it like as part of the show. And this is a little spoiler for the end of the episode. I hadn't seen this movie in a very long time. I had seen this movie many times, but I had not seen it.
Was it a dad movie? It feels like a dad movie.
It does feel like a dad movie, but I am like 95% certain this was just a Comedy Central, just like endless
cheap to run.
And it's like, it's one of those weird ones where it's like, it doesn't cost anything, but it has Dan Aykroyd, very recognizable. Tom Hanks, obviously hugely recognizable, but also the female lead, whose name I have written down somewhere but have forgotten at this exact second. She was on Baywatch starting in season 3, so she was like
the Virgin character.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so she was on Baywatch as like one of the main lifeguards.
I just know her as she was in Christine.
Yes, yeah, she is in Christine, but she had a like 3 or more year run on Baywatch, and so she was like in the zeitgeist in a way. So it's like people knew who she was, and that show got syndicated like crazy very quickly. So it was just like, I think Comedy Central being like, anything with a Baywatch girl.
Speaking of Baywatch, 2-second tangent. Have you seen the trailer for Pam and Tommy? It just dropped like today.
Yeah,
I know it's a Hulu limited series. That makeup artist deserves an Oscar.
I think it might be a movie. I think it's just a Hulu movie, isn't it?
No, I think it's a series. It's a series premiere February 2nd.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a Hulu movie. Can I take you through the 30-second journey of me watching that trailer, or whatever, 2-minute journey? I was just like, who could possibly give a shit about this? And then I saw in the thumbnail that there was like Seth Rogen looking like a scumbag, and I was like, all right, well,
and Nick Offerman looking gross.
Well, he wasn't in the thumbnail, but then as I started watching, I was like, oh my God, Nick Offerman also playing a scumbag. Like, this is so much more interesting than I thought it would be. So I still don't know that I will actually watch it, but I totally agree with you. The
Lily James is unrecognizable. It's insane.
Yeah, same for, is it Sebastian Shaw or
Stan.
Sebastian Stan? Okay, I always screw that up. He looks a lot like Tommy.
Mm-hmm. But for her, for a second, I was like, because I saw pictures a while ago of like, you won't believe this, and I was like, wow. But like in the trailer, I was like, it looks like they deep faked Pamela Anderson onto someone else.
Yeah, no, it is really wild. I am very curious though what they're gonna like. The big question I have in terms of makeup and prosthetics is gonna be like, okay, so like we all know the Boogie Nights penis, but like, this needs to be even bigger and more badder than the Boogie Nights penis. So like, I need the 9-part oral history of the KNB effects group or whomever it is of just like, well, so we had to make Tommy Lee's giant penis. Like, and here's how we did it. And then Sebastian Stan being like, yeah, I had to wear this special back brace to carry it around. They were like really worried about I was going to throw a disc. So like, no, you have to I do these special lunge exercises to walk around with this thing hanging in my pants.
I guess Hulu can make it rated whatever they want. So they could show it.
If they, let me go this far. I don't particularly care about this show, but if they don't show it, that is like a 20 letter degrade drop, because that is the only thing people talk. There's like, hey, Pam Anderson is naked. Yeah, we've kind of seen that before. Did you see the size of Tommy Lee's hog? And also, I don't know if you remember this, and I'm not going to put the names on the podcast, but this has just flashbulbed a memory into existence that two relatives, an aunt and uncle of ours, definitely watched this and definitely asked our parents if they had seen it at a time when they thought children were out of earshot. And I like was old enough to know what this was and was like, oh God. And just like, I was like, I can't hear the answer to this
Kool-Aid
question.
Man out the window?
It's like
Out the
I
wall,
just
rather?
threw myself down the basement steps. It's just like, I can't know the answer. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's like, get away. So anyway, it captured the cultural zeitgeist, is I guess what I would say, of the Pam and Tommy Lee stolen sex tape. Anyway, that's enough Pam and Tommy Lee giant penis talk. We should get into Dragnet. We watched 1987's Dragnet, and you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your cop out of water story. Something's going on with your cop out of water story.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
I realized that I was starting to make a point, and then we talked about Tommy Lee's penis for 10 minutes. And the thing I was getting to that I wanted to say on mic originally is that, so I hadn't seen this in easily 15 years, probably a little bit longer than that. And I found myself like just caught up watching and enjoying the movie and not taking the best notes. So like if it feels like I'm dragging here, it's like I was just enjoying myself in a way that I was really surprised by. And I kept being like, you got to write stuff down. You got to start writing stuff down.
Okay. I would say it took me about a half an hour to really get into it.
Okay. That feels about the right length of time if you don't know exactly what the setup is here.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of like, I kind of wanted the beginning to be like, sorry to bring it up again, but like the Brady Bunch movie, like
no, it's that's the like, perfect analog for this.
I needed to see like he's walking around the street like telling people not to litter as like someone's getting stabbed with a switchblade by someone with a pointy mohawk. Like I wanted a little more establishment because like in the Brady Bunch movie, it's very clear instantly they are the 1960s Brady's in 1990s California. I needed this is 1960s or 60s.
I think Dragnet may span both decades. I think it's like my brain wants to say like 1954.
Because it started as a radio show, didn't it?
That I'm not sure of, but I'm almost positive the actual show is like 1957, 1954.
Okay. But yeah, I wanted some more like in the beginning very clear because they try to be like cute and be like your uncle or whatever, your grandfather.
Yes,
I think was
yes.
uncle. Your uncle was on the force.
Yeah.
Friday, and I was like, yeah, but like why is he like this? Just show me some like his house should have been like a 60s vision, like a mid-century modern vision or something. Like something that says like he's firmly planted in a different time.
Yeah. And it's interesting because the character is like, I would say 80% what you're describing and 20% like a regular human being. Like it seems like Joe Friday, I almost said junior, but that's wrong. But it seems like he knows that he's a weirdo a little bit. Like he's aware that he's outside the norm, I guess.
Yeah.
Say.
And I think that's what I didn't like. I was like, I want some less self-aware because it's 2021 and every fucking thing is so self-aware these days. Yeah. Musicals can't just be musicals anymore. People have to comment on the fact that we're singing. We get it. It's a musical. We bought the tin.
Right.
Just shut up and sing.
It's interesting that you say that, though, because the thing that I was going to say that really makes me like this, and also I realize is like the through line of all of the versions of this stuff that I do like, which is like the two Brady Bunch movies for sure. This is not an exhaustive list, but also like at least the first 21 Jump Street movie and this is like we treat our source material with irreverence as opposed to reverence. And it's not like, this is a sacred text which we have the honor of adapting, which I think that new Ghostbusters like gets a little into.
Have you seen it?
Like I just, and I would like my one sentence review too is like, I mostly liked it. There is one particular aspect of it that I personally have just like a big problem with in general that is like not limited to the Ghostbusters, but like a particular choice of the movie. I was just like, okay, I just do not care for this, and I wish that it wasn't in this, but it's like mostly fine. The big problem I have with it is like it's just not that funny, and like it's it's cute and the kid acting is
Exciting.
pretty good. It's got kids in peril. It's got some very fun action pieces. It's got some cleverness. Like, it doesn't quite go all the way over into kid movie, like, zoinks kind of stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah. Nobody says whoa, but like they think it. Like there are more than one moments.
I saw in the trailer. There's like a seat comes like shoots out the side of Ecto
Yes.
1, and I was like, I bet some kid they're gonna take a hard right turn, and someone's gonna be like, and it's gonna like swivel, and they're gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah, it doesn't do that. But also that thing was in the cartoon.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, in the real Ghostbusters or Extreme Ghostbusters. No,
The real was
was
the first one.
I can't remember if it's that one or the Extreme one, but one of those two adaptations has a gunner seat that slides out of the back of the Ecto 1. So I didn't find that to be like insane, although it certainly isn't in the first two Ghostbusters movies. But yeah, it's
Gotta sell toys.
Right. It's this movie is very toyetic. Like, there's lots of stuff that you can sell, and I think they probably have. It's mostly pretty good. There's like the stuff that you like really don't want them to do. Like, I don't think this is a spoiler. Well, I'll just say it non-spoilery. Like, when the effects can logically be practical, they are largely. And when there is, of course, like CGI, like the ghosts are CGI. But like, even like the way the proton packs go, I realize this was going to be one sentence and we're bordering on 100 hours now. But like,
This is a run-on sentence.
Yes, it's a 5-paragraph essay. In it, I will. The proton pack stuff like looks like the 80s proton pack stuff, but obviously they used like a computer to make it because like why wouldn't you? It's much easier. But it looks like when people do electric finger, when ghosts do electric sparky stuff like they do in the old movies, it looks like an 80s effect done by a computer. So it's like cleaner but still the same vibe. Yeah, and that is a lot of what I didn't like about the 2016 one is like everything is very computery, and it was just like, it just got computer overload to me. There's like stuff out here. Do I think it's a great movie? No. Do I think it's a perfectly adequate movie? Absolutely. Is it going to get a sequel? Almost definitely. Like, and that is where it's like, okay, well maybe in the sequel they can forge their own identity a little more than they do in this one, which I could have done without. But yeah, I think you would probably enjoy it. They do. This is also non-spoiler. I guess it is technically. There's some scenes with the original crew that are just like little tack-ons that are done during and after the credits that have just like no bearing on the movie. But it like you see a person's name in the credits and then that goes away and like 30 seconds pass and then you see that person for the first time on screen and it's like, well, why are they in the credits? They aren't in this movie. They have a what's an 8th day rate? It's like they came in for 45 minutes on a lunch break from a different movie and filmed a scene.
Yeah, they came in, had a Danish, did their scene, and left.
Yeah, like I don't even know if there was a Danish involved. This might not have been like worthy of having a cup of coffee.
Weird.
So yeah. Anyway, that movie I think definitely does the thing where it's like there's this reverential energy toward the original thing, where it is like Ghostbusters is a sacred, meaningful text that people have derived large parts of their lives about, and we cannot treat it with anything but the utmost respect. And it's part of the reason why I think, and we've talked about this in the podcast many times, is like remake okay to bad shit and let the good stuff let's live on its own.
Like it was good for a reason.
Right.
Find the bones, and find the good bones in the shit and be like, oh, hang on.
Right. And it's like, I'm sure people remember Dragnet fondly, who some of the people who watch this. And also, I did look it up. You're correct. It was on the radio. 49
and then became
to
a TV show.
Yes. TV show originally ran from 51 to 59. And then there was like a brief late 60s, early 70s revival, which I'm not going to click and read through all the details because ultimately this is not a Dragnet history podcast.
Wasn't Lone Ranger also in that ballpark? It was radio.
Lone Ranger
TV
was definitely radio.
Movie?
Yeah, that definitely happened for sure with that as well. Zorro is probably the same thing, I would guess. Yeah. I don't know that offhand.
Annie,
but it's like,
I guess technically wasn't.
Yeah, you're definitely right. But like, so like people probably remembered Dragnet to some level, right? Like it had stopped airing. If the original show stopped airing in 59, this comes out in 87. It's like pretty long ago for most people, though it probably ran in reruns and stuff like that. So it's like, just like kind of a cultural reference that some people have a lot of fondness for and some people don't really care about. But I don't think, compared to Ghostbusters, is like there are people who like build Ecto 1 versions of their car, and they wear the jumpsuits, and they go to like charity events. And I'm not making fun of these people. Like, to be very clear, like, it's cool to love stuff, and I think that's wonderful. But like, when you're touching on something that has had that kind of like meaningful impact in somebody's life, it almost forces you to be reverential about it. Whereas like, I think a lot of people like the Brady Bunch, but I don't think anybody like
so the Brady Bunch
their
is sort
life
of that
according to it.
Like It's a Wonderful Life syndrome. Like, while it was on the air, it didn't do great. Like, people were like, it's a show, whatever.
Yeah.
But then it became syndicated, and teenagers started watching it when they're home from school, sick or whatever, and it gained like Second Life popularity. So that's why I think it lends itself more to the like. It was never revered in its day. It was always looked back on, and so when something is looked back on, it's easier to be like, yes, this is goofy and silly, but it's fun.
Right. And the Brady Bunch got a third wave with Nick and Knight because we watched it when we were younger. Like I in thinking about notes and taking notes for this episode and like the like wanting to talk about this conversation we're having right now, I remembered this very specific Nick at Night promo, and this one line of it got stuck in my head. And then thankfully
I Seesaw All Night Long.
No, it's the line right before that, which is, I want to mow the AstroTurf.
I want to mow the AstroTurf and seesaw all night long. I want to star in local talent shows by singing groovy songs.
Yes,
I want to be a Brady.
Right. And I totally remembered this promo, and it was that thing where it's like your brain is like, I can't finish the line and it's killing me. And I luckily was able to find this promo and watch it and was like, oh, thank God someone felt the need to preserve this Nick at Night promo from 1997 or whatever it was. But I think that Nick at Night popularity is what led to those movies. And that's why like there's like a third, I'm just adding on to what you're saying there's also, I think, like a third wave. But you're exactly right. Is like, it was just like a sort of thing that was around that people are aware of. And 21 Jump Street, largely before that movie, I think is probably the same category. It was like, it became this kind of cultural shorthand for like undercover cop in high school. Like there was jokes about, there's a joke in that Rock series, and he talked about it years before that like he developed really fast. He was big and tall and had a mustache, and people thought they called him Jump Street because they were like, oh, you're clearly, a cop. So it's like, when you can treat the thing as like the jumping off point to have some fun, and you can bring in references, but without feeling like you need to belabor the references and stuff, it really does work for me. So it's like, I want irreverent tone. Like I don't want you to disrespect it, but I want you to be like, I like this thing, but come on, it's a little ridiculous, right?
Exactly.
That's what the tone I want to hit with these sorts of things. It's like, I just, if we can do that, all we do is remake and reboot shit. So can we just not treat all of it like sacred text would be great. Like they're not all the Bible or whatever holy book, right? They're not the Torah. They're just fucking movies, man. And I like Ghostbusters a lot. It's one of my favorite movies, but like, it's just a fucking movie, man. Like it's okay to not treat it like it's the Bible.
I agree. Speaking of, 2 seconds. I remember a little while ago, I said I was into watching compilations of 80s Halloween commercials at Halloween, like 70s, 80s, 90s. Now I've finally dipped my toe into the Christmas commercial compilations. Lovely. But one of them is it's like a book flying through the air, and it's just called The Book, and it's like, this story has been, of excitement and intrigue and mystery and war and blah blah blah. It's been retold and passed down to generations. And I was like, are you talking about the Bible? And the Bible got a rebranding in like the 80s or 70s as just The Book. It was just called The Book.
I know the commercial you're talking about, so it must have persisted a little longer than out of the 80s.
But I was just like, it was like, give the gift of Christ's word with The Book, or the easy to read or the teen version. And I was like, when did they rebrand? I thought the whole point, like, I'm not a particularly religious person. I was under the impression that the whole like crux of religion is that like we don't rebrand. It is the thing we do.
Well, you do have like, you got your like King James version, which is the the more popular Bible, but there are different like translations is perhaps the wrong word, but
it's translations.
Yeah. Or I was gonna say
editions.
Yeah, editions, but there's another academic type word of it's similar to transition or translation, but not exactly the same thing. Anyway, all that to say, The commercial you're talking about, I distinctly remember, but I was also thinking of like the extreme teen Bible type thing of like,
I remember those.
Or like the illustrated storybook one. So it's like, I think they're just like some cigar chomper was like, you know, it costs no money to get the rights to the Bible. Let's make a definitive edition of the holy book to sell more copies.
Yeah.
So that's my guess. It's the same like public domain rating that Disney does. It's like,
fair.
What can we steal and make money off of and now own?
I put my Bible in the giveaway pile.
Oh boy.
It's not a thin book. It's not a slim tome.
Oh boy.
And I was just like, hey, this is this like recently I was like finally getting everything out of our parents' house. And I was like, these are the things I'm not taking with me. Here's the stack of the books or whatever. And Mom was like, what? And I was like, I looked at her and Dad laughed. I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. In what world am I as a 29-year-old adult human taking this with me to my new home? Like, I'm not going to crack it open. I never did crack it open. I'm not going to start now.
There is a copy of a Bible in my house that is not owned by me, but I have personally moved 3 times, and I keep being like, every time we move, we cut the book pile down, like down.
Yeah.
Where it's like, truthfully, now we have a bookcase that is embarrassingly devoid of books because I just like stuff I really like. I got a Kindle copy of or whatever, and I read mostly on my Kindle. And it's like I had very few books that there's like a small selection of stuff that's like from my childhood. That's like this has some meaning. Like my copy of this means something to me, or whatever. But mostly I'm like I don't really need this. And I was like, do we really need to move this Bible again? Like. But this was like apparently some relative's copy. There's like some handwriting and stuff inside, and it's like got sentimental value. But I was just like, there's like 24 books on our shelf. The fact that one of them is a Bible in our house is bonkers. Like just really
push it lower. Put it on a lower shelf.
There's only 2 shelves of books. There's not a lot of lower to go.
Yeah, I only have 1 bookshelf. The bottom shelf is all scripts. And even that is overflowing. And then the shelf above that is all like acting textbooks and like theater, like specific books. And so I have 3 shelves of like not novelty books, leisure books, and then 2 shelves of like quote unquote workbooks. Right. And I was like, I'm not bringing this. I was like, you can keep it, whatever you want to do with it, but it's not coming with me.
Yeah, I am not taking this extreme teen Bible with me.
It wasn't even the extreme teen. It was like the regular Bible,
the good old the holy book.
Yeah, it had the little papers stuck in it that like denoted the like, chapters or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not going to do this.
But I'm looking at it now. By shelf space, ours is like 10% yearbooks, 10% coffee table books. 20% Harry Potters, and then like assorted others is the rest.
Oh, I have a few, maybe 4 coffee table books upstairs, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. Anyway, yes. I don't know how we got on this Bible tangent. We have talked about this movie for approximately 1 minute of the 30 minutes we have been recording, which is a pretty bad average even for the 2 of us.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a minute since we recorded, so I think we're just.
See, that's the problem of getting out of the rhythm of like, it's like, okay, we know what we're doing. So apologies if you hate this. I'm going to have to put a thing in the thing of like,
we're pulling on My Favorite Murder and we're making it fun at the top.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, fast forward to 30 minutes if you just want to hear us start talking about this movie. We open with B-roll of Los Angeles, narrated by...
I really love Aykroyd's voice. I always forget what a great like voice he has.
Absolutely.
I think I just take it for granted. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's nice.
It's also interesting because he's doing this affect here, which is like kind of a silly affect. But you could see a version in which he uses this more serious voice instead of his sort of jokey regular voice to do like, you know, voiceovers for nature documentaries or audiobooks or whatever that would be really satisfying. It
reminds me of what the voice he's putting on reminds me of the Law and Order SVU intro, like that guy's voice.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Same vibes. And he's
also got a lot of badge footage.
Oh yeah.
For the opening when he's like, it's like just like a picture of the LAPD badge, and then these like weird like close-ups from different angles as this like SNES music plays, and I was like,
Yes.
can we move on?
Well, then we roll into the theme song to the movie, which is the rap song where it's like, just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, ma'am.
It's a bizarre choice.
It's like Rappin' Rodney poisoned our whole goddamn brain. Like, what have we done? What have we done?
Yeah, I mean, I come from in like Drag Race world. Every other word gets remixed into like a song. So I was like, I haven't watched the movie yet. These lines don't mean anything to me.
Right. It's like just the facts, I think, is supposed to be the one everybody knows. That's the classic Dragnet line. You know, that's the the chong chong of Dragnet from Law and Order.
Why don't we go with dun dun?
So I always thought it was dun dun, but I was recently reading an article about the man who wrote those two notes and subsequently has enough money to buy most countries that aren't in Europe or the North America, and he calls it chung chung.
That's weird.
Yeah, I always thought dun dun.
Dun dun. Yeah,
But there is this. I have to stop doing this because it's going to do the like weird onomatopoeia word becomes a sound thing and ruin my brain. But if you think about the sound, there is
sort of a ch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it has like the end sort of has a G sound, and that I cannot go further than this with you. My journey with this conversation must end here. I will mute and let you get all your thoughts out if you need to go for 20 more minutes when I cannot.
No. I think it definitely has like it's like with like a tubular bell when you strike it. The beginning of that sound has a sort of ch quality to it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Anyway.
No, I'm not high.
Neither of us is on drugs.
Because water tastes like broccoli, man.
I really like the name has been changed, but then they tell you it anyway. That's like a really stupid Police Academy type joke. It's like the name John Smith has been changed to Paul Jones. Like
because they say this is based on a true story, right?
Yes, except for the fact that the name Paul Smith has been changed to John Jones, or what I don't know. I didn't write the name down, but I got a legitimate laugh out of that, like right off the bat in this movie. That I was like, oh man, maybe this is actually still good. Like I have hopes.
It's a solid movie. I did like it overall. I will say that up top. I did like it. I thought it was a little long, but I liked it.
Yeah. I think that's a totally valid criticism. I think the first 45 minutes of this really cooks, and my guess is it's because it's a 45-minute episode of a cop show.
Yeah. Fairly recently, I want to say, fairly recently within the last few months, that I said felt like a 2-episode arc of a TV show.
Totally. Yes, I don't remember what it was, but that did happen very recently. But this one is interesting to me because it's like the first 45 minutes feels like a full on, just like a TV episode of like, you got your cold open with this fire department part. It establishes the mystery. It feels like the pilot of a TV show, like the new partners introduced.
Yeah, I was going to say, or the first episode of a new season.
Yeah. And it's like you run through all this stuff and you kind of conclude that narrative, but not the whole. It's like you conclude that week's episode, but not the arc that you're working on. And so the next hour is the whole rest of the arc, and it feels kind of clunky to me. But the first 45, I think, is truly very good.
Yeah. So someone dressed as a fire chief sets a fire to a bunch of. You kind of assume they're porn magazines, kind of. They're called Bait.
They're
but BAIT. So I was like, is it a fishing magazine?
It's a one-handed fishing magazine.
Your bait and tackle.
Exactly.
Because at first I was like, why did the fire chief set the fire? I'm like, my dumbass brain couldn't fathom that it was a disguise. I think if he had like ripped off a mustache or something.
Sure.
Like nothing, because I was like, I don't know anyone. This movie just started. I don't know any. You can't be like, this person, you're meeting them in a disguise.
Right. But also, the mustache on this man is absolutely glorious.
It's a good one.
And I would not want it ripped off anything. But the other part of this I really like, though, is an actual cop comes up to the fire chief and is like, what's going on here? Why is this happening?
Where's the fire?
And yeah, the fire chief throws the Molotov cocktail to start the fire. Then he gives him like a
Vulcan neck pinch.
Vulcan neck pinch. But he keeps talking to him after he's he knocks him unconscious, and then he's like, "And tell your boss to stay out of it." I was like, "Well, he's not gonna get that message now."
Yeah,
this whole movie is gonna be set off by this miscommunication. Like it was like a rom-com.
And then he leaves a business card that says pagan, but all the letters have periods in between to say like it stands for something. And it's got a little ram's head. No. Not a. Is it a ram?
It's a ram. I think it's a ram. It might be a goat.
No, because rams have swirly horns. Westchester was the rams. They have swirly horns. These are more the like.
Technically, it's a bighorn sheep that has it. I think the ram just might be like a sub-derivative of a bighorn sheep.
It's got Black Phillip's face on it.
It does have Black Phillip's face on it.
Would
thou like to live Aykroyd-liciously?
I forgot that like for whatever reason, I'm just like obsessed with Black Phillip, and I forgot to like rewatch the movie again. I was like, oh yeah, no, for like the voice is like kind of sexy but also silly, and like the concept of Black Phillip is great. Like I'm working on a cross stitch that says, "What's thou like to live deliciously?" And my boyfriend, I will say that
a piece of cheesecake next to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a Black Forest cake, I guess, would be more on brand.
Yeah, but that's like something that Jack and I say to each other all the time. Of like, what's thou like to park parallel?
I do not care for this ASMR version of the podcast. I would like it to be over as quickly as possible. Please and thank you. The actor here is Jack O'Halloran, which is like a great actor name. He feels
very
like
familiar looking.
Yeah. He's in Superman and Superman 2. So it's very possible that like he is on your radar from that. But I looked
he looks like he would have been and I say this with all reverence, he would have been the villain in a children's movie.
So I think he's the villain in the Flintstones. He plays a guy called Yeti, which I don't remember that movie.
In the original Flintstones movie?
The John Goodman one.
No, he's not the villain in that, because the villain in that is Halle Berry and a handsome man.
But do they have like a heavy, like their henchman?
No, they don't. I think so. I think he plays one of the men who works at the factory with, like, he has like a friendly rivalry with Fred, because he's not a bad guy. But like I'm picturing him being like the Airbud. Like he's kind of, it reminds me like the Airbud villain.
This dog can't play basketball.
No, not the rule book. The actual villain in the Airbud film.
Right, but the villain who like the villain who like learns the rules in the rule book, waits for Airbud to make the championship against his team, pulls out the rule book and is like, they have to forfeit all their games and they can't play in the championship and we win. Slams the book down.
Yeah, but he like the actual like guy who dresses like a clown in the Airbud movie.
Okay.
The real villain of the actual Airbud movie.
I've identified the issue. It's that you think I remember the plot to Airbud.
So it's not even the plot. I just remember the scene.
Can I give you it will take long, the entirety of what I remember about Airbud. There is a dog
basketball.
There is a basketball, and there is someone who says the line, "There's no rule in the rule book that says a dog can't play basketball."
That's a line in Airbud?
Yes.
I just remember there was a birthday party scene where some dude is a clown. I think it's
Does
Airbud.
he try to kill Airbud?
No, I don't remember. I just remember the scene.
Hey, Airbud, here's a couple of brownies. Give him a shot.
Wash it down with some grape juice and onions.
Is it grape juice or just? I always assumed they couldn't eat grapes because they would choke on them.
No, they can't. It's like a chemical in the grape that they can't.
Okay.
Digest.
So grape juice would be really bad.
Yeah, like dogs can't drink wine.
Well, they also shouldn't.
But I mean, like if you spill wine on the floor, like, and you have a dog, wipe it up. Like, don't be like, oh, you know, like if like some people like if you spill like water, the dog licks it up or whatever.
Yeah. I'm just picturing a bunch of dogs like sitting on loungers wearing like really basic like wine wine is my personality type t-shirts of just like the poodle like, oh, I'd love an oaky shard on a lovely crisp autumn morning. I just having a good giggle at the dog picture in my brain.
So we meet Aykroyd's character, and I immediately was like, is he a Rorschach from Watchmen? Because I fucking hated Rorschach.
No, yeah, I totally see why you might think that. I totally get that.
Because
Thankfully not.
Thankfully, thank Christ not. Because that was a big reason why I had a hard time watching Watchmen, because I was like, he is insufferable. Like,
yeah, I would go so far as to say Friday is like the opposite of Rorschach. It's like they'll ask for help, and I'll be like, right there, give me just a second.
Yes, he will offer the help, but
Yeah.
he will be a stickler about it.
Yes, but it is not a moral code; it is the penal code. So it's he's not a vigilante at all. With that, it's like I make the rules. It's like, well, a group of senators and Congress people got together and made these rules, and I'll be supporting them.
I like your 1920s voice.
It's not exactly right, but it's like the spirit of the thing, I feel.
Yes, he gets assigned a new partner, because even like this beginning part where we see his desk is like, looks like something out of like he's like a gumshoe, like it looks like Roger Rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I needed more like other people reacting like to the fact that his desk has a blotter on it. Like,
right,
why is there a blotter on your desk in 1987?
Right. Or like, he's filling out reports in meticulous handwriting while someone next to him,
or like he has a typewriter.
Typing. Right.
And everyone else has the black and green computers or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree. I a little bit more there would be good. I agree. And I really like your idea of like, if you saw his house and it just felt like it was from a different era completely, like would totally make sense for this character.
Mm-hmm. Because when we later meet his grandmother, she just feels like an 80s grandma.
She feels way hipper than he is.
Oh yeah. She's like, deuces, dude. I'm gonna go have fun.
She's a cool granny. Well, that's what it is that she's just a very cool granny.
Yeah.
The other quibble I have here is Hanks gets this, I think, very funny entrance where he gets like towed in this car that is just absolutely, it's held together barely. Like as soon as the tow truck stops, pieces fall off, which I really like this jalopy.
It's a Muppet
thing.
car.
Yeah, fully it's a Muppet car. But then Aykroyd is like, now this is unacceptable. You're dressed like a big bum. And he like reads in the riot act. And then we do like a flip wipe, and Hanks is like in regular 80s Tom Hanks mode. And I was like, I don't know, man. I kind of would have liked to see like scumbum Tom Hanks a little more.
I don't need scumbum, but like, give me Hanks with long hair and a beard. Like,
yeah, well, that's scumbum.
Well, I didn't mean he didn't have to stay like he came out looking like Robin Williams in Jumanji. Like,
yeah.
He could have been a little tidier, but
okay, yeah. So it's the other thing that I thought was funny while watching this, and I promise we will get back to the point of this podcast, which is like recapping and making jokes, but it's really fascinating to me that like we really have like there's, to my mind, and there's probably some variance within these, and there's probably one you're going to tell me that I forgot, which is fine. But to my mind, there's like basically three cop tales. You have like really crazy corruption cop story, which is like, your Training Days, Batman, sure, Serpico. You got your old cop, young cop duo, which is like your Lethal Weapons and stuff. And then you have this, which Hanks just did the opposite of in his
the dog one.
Turner and Hooch, where Hanks was the wild, goofy cop, and he had a very, Hanks was the very straight-laced cop, and he had a goofy partner in Reginald L. Johnson, where here he's like the goofy cop, and Dan Aykroyd is the straight-edge one. But it's like that's it. Like that's the three cop narratives are like old cop, young cop, crazy cop, fastidious cop, and then really corrupt stuff. And it's like, that's all the narratives we have for policing. And it's like,
pretty much.
It's just really wild. And again, like if you've got the other one, please tweet it. Like I'm not suggesting I have created the
Where would
definitive
Kindergarten
list.
Cop fall into that?
So
that would be an outlier, but I don't know what category I would call that.
But isn't Kindergarten Cop, and now go with me here because I'm getting a little wild and wacky. Isn't Kindergarten Cop kind of like really tight-laced cop and really wild cop, except the wild cop is the kindergartner
classroom of children?
Yeah, it's like classroom of children.
I don't remember is he like a straight-laced cop in that?
My recollection of the narrative of that movie, which has been oodles of time is that like he's a real by the book guy, and being the kindergarten cop kind of teaches him to loosen up a little. That might be wrong.
That
that
makes
feels
sense.
right. Yeah. The thing I remember from that is like, who is your daddy and what does he do? Like very like, he's like trying to solve this mystery and he's got a bunch of wild kids. So
And
to me,
it's
that's
not a tumor. That's that one, right?
yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, I think that's probably the category that fits it best, where it's like, it's straight-laced cop and goofy cop, except goofy cop is 24 children or
Yes.
whatever the number is. But that's, I think, where that one would land for me. Although, again, like if someone's got the idea, please feel free to fire up the tweet box. The thing that so back to the movie that we're talking about, I realized something in this, which is that Dan Aykroyd is really good at playing a goober. Like he does it really well here.
Yeah.
He does it really well in Ghostbusters. And then I was like, oh, right. He probably is a goober. Like, and I don't mean that like
Derivatively.
derisively or so
Derisively.
derisively. Yeah. It's like, I'm a bit of a goober too. But it's just like, yeah, of course he's good at playing a goober. Like he kind of is. He's like really into aliens and weird shit.
Yeah. Although I always say for Ghostbusters, I don't think of him as a goober. He kind of plays a sort of like everyman, like he's the least wacky, I find, of all the Ghostbusters.
Except for the ghost job, yes.
Okay, yes, that. But I mean, but like in the grand scheme of the movie, he's kind of the least wacky.
Yeah. Well, yes, Winston perhaps even further along that scale than he is, but they basically don't treat him as a character in it.
No. Well, he got a doctorate, apparently. In the new one, he's referred to as doctor, apparently, according to Wikipedia.
I don't remember them calling him doctor in the movie, but he's incredibly wealthy.
Yeah, it was his character name was like Dr. Winston Zedmore.
Interesting, because they specifically talk about Murray becoming a professor.
I literally just go on Wikipedia.
They just don't remember that title coming across. But whatever, happy for him to be a fake doctor. Totally fine.
So they're driving, and Dan Aykroyd is driving 15 below the speed limit on a highway,
yeah,
and I was like,
yeah.
if I drove past a cop doing 50 on a highway, I would report them so fast.
Yeah, I often am like, get out of the left lane, you're driving 10 under. And that's sort of my vibe. And then I recently had a situation which I was driving slow and on purpose. And I was just trying to take my time to get somewhere, but I was in the left lane and the car came really up on me and I was about to be annoyed at them. And I was like, oh, right, you're the dick. Get out
You're
of the left
lane.
Yeah, get out of the way. So maybe
I think
should
people
be
just don't
kinder to
use that
others.
system. It's. I mean, there's signs posted, but like people don't think about it as like stay in the right, just use the left to pass. People are like,
Right,
it's
right.
2 lanes. Do whatever you want. It's anarchy.
Right. So we're investigating the disappearance of some animals, and they left behind this pagan card. So we go to the zoo, and inexplicably the zookeeper is wearing like a cast aluminum safari helmet.
I thought it looked like plastic.
Oh, did you? Okay, it looks shiny and like actual metal to me. I was very perplexed by this zookeeper.
No, I got plastic shine, but that's me.
Okay.
She also says anaconda,
Yes, she does.
and I was like, no one caught that. This line is a VO line. This
Yes.
is voiceover, and you couldn't.
Right.
No one thought to be like, hey, you added an extra D in there. Then this isn't an aluminium situation. Like no one says anaconda.
Yeah, it is very, very weird. So it turns out there's like a couple of the anaconda and a couple other snakes are missing, plus a couple other animals I can't remember.
It's a
specifically
fruit
off
bat,
of me. That's
a
right.
fruit bat, an anaconda, and then they shaved the lion into a mohawk, which is
That's
pretty
right.
radical.
Yeah, that's another. I was a legit laugh line for me of like. Aykroyd's really upset about this lion, and he's like, there's a bunch of kids here today are never going to find out that this is just temporary. And Hanks is like, oh, I got it. Hey, kids, the lion's mane will grow back. And it cuts to this group of children who are all like, yay! It was just so stupid. It made me laugh.
I also love that it's clearly a female lion with like a head, like they like strapped a head like a mohawk to her. It's so great.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's just like given the choice between that and the alternative, it's like, yeah, I'm glad they didn't shave a lion. For
I'm
no reason.
very glad they didn't actually shave a lion down.
Well, it was 1987. It was a very real possibility. I don't know if you remember, but the rules were a little different. Perhaps we should point people to our episode on the Near documentary, not just a joke I'm doing, Roar, about lions just eating people.
Yeah. Oh my God. A month ago, Jack asked me, he was like, have you ever seen the movie Roar? And I was like, which one? And he was like, it's an 80s movie. And it's like lions and stuff. And I was like, oh, the one where Goldie Hawn was not Goldie Hawn.
Melanie Griffith.
I don't know why that was confused in my head. I was like, the one where Melanie Griffith gets her face mauled in real life and we watch it happen. And he was like, oh, you have seen it. I was like, we did an episode about it like a while ago. I was like, I might have the movie somewhere.
That's almost surely in the archives. Like you jump on Patreon, you can get the full back catalog thing. Yeah.
I was like, I'll warn you, like, it's not particularly good. Like, it sounds interesting and it's weird, but I was like, it's not engaging.
The movie is not. So I find that movie very interesting to watch in all the parts where you're like, oh, this is almost like a snuff film, and then the actual like plotting part is brutal.
So they have to go to in-universe Hugh Hefner because it was his slutty magazines that were. They say stolen, but I was like, I thought they were burned. Like, we watched them burn.
So before they set the warehouse on fire, they do take several truckloads worth. I don't know, like, if that was supposed to be it. The other thing, too, is, like, he's kind of Hugh Hefner. Like, they use the cultural tropes of Hugh Hefner with, like, mansion, many women around.
Yeah.
But he's more like a Larry Flint of Hustler. Like, he's skeevier than Hugh Hefner ever was.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't have the... I have the only reference I have for that is Hugh Hefner runs a skin mag.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I know Larry Flint because, like, they made, The People versus Larry Flint and stuff. Like, not to get too weird into our personal preferences, but I don't know that I've ever seen a Hustler magazine. I'm 35 years old, so I kind of missed the window on that.
They do still make them because I was in a store in Philly it's in the neighborhood that it's called Danny's, and it sells like lingerie and sex toys and all that. I always like to see the like gay underwear in person, and I like turned around to leave and I was like, Hustler? I was like, okay, I guess we're still doing that. Sure.
Danny's was the name of the combination Chinese food / sub shop in College Park where I went to school. So interesting.
Very different stores.
Interesting the difference in stores there. No penis pasta at my Danny's, but perhaps at yours.
I don't remember if there was any.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they still make that stuff. I mean, the gas stations, Royal Farms, which I often use to like
love
get gas
Royal Farms. They're chicken.
Yeah. But I like they have decent bathrooms, and so if you're on a road trip and you need to get gas, go to the bathroom, good place to stop. They always have a huge porn rack, and so like there have been times I'm like waiting for the other person in my group to get out of the bathroom, and I'm just like, well, I might as well stand and look at the porn mags and see what this looks like, because what else am I doing in here?
The ones near me in like the Philly area don't have any magazines.
Interesting. Even the little janky one near where I lived in Baltimore had the only magazine rack was pornography. And I assumed it was like a trucker based thing. Like they get a lot of trucker people, and that's just like part of it. Like, I don't know, but I was fascinated by it. Yeah. Anyway, so he's
lisping Hugh Hefner, which is a fun choice.
Yeah. And it's friend of the show, Dabney Coleman, who never gets enough to do. Criminally underused in this movie.
He really is.
And I understand it's like you have Christopher Plummer playing the other bad guy, famously as he did replacing Kevin Spacey in this movie, as he did for All the Money in the World. They went in.
Oh, that's right.
No, he did not do that. But I get it. Like, Christopher Plummer, great bad guy. Like, he's very good in this movie. I love the character he's playing. But I'm like, man, like, you could have put 10% more Dabney Coleman in this soup, and it would have been better. Everyone loves the Dabney Coleman. But the other thing about this that I love so much is, like, we get this B-roll of, like, all these bibs, like, by the pool in their outfits. And they're in...
First they're driving up, and there's, like, lady gardeners. And I was like, they're fully clothed. Like, they're wearing, like, 80s shorts that are, like, up to the nipple and like down to the knees.
They are like, I would call it like a more saucy gardener outfit. I wouldn't call it a sexy gardener outfit.
But like, it's if I'm picturing like what the gardeners are wearing at the Playboy Mansion, like
right. Well, it's like you gotta
like tie it up in the front. Like give me
Yeah,
like a Britney Spears moment.
Yeah, and like a glass of lemonade that's like very condensated, so it's like dripping a lot.
Very slippery. Yeah.
It's like a slippery glass of lemonade is the part
Yeah.
that's missing from here. It's just like a glass that's you got to get that pinky around the underneath.
You got to
the little
scoop the bottom.
Yeah, you got to catch it. Yeah, that's what they needed here because it's like. Look, for practical purposes, you can't be doing gardening in a bikini or lingerie.
I'm not saying
there's
bikini, but
thorns
like
and the
I
rose
show
bushes
more
and stuff.
skin
Like, you
in
gotta
the
have a
summer
little
than
bit more
these
clothing
outfits.
on. Yeah. Yeah. But the other thing, speaking of outfits, is like, so we cut to the pool and we do this like B-roll, like slow pan across like all the bibs in their various bikinis and stuff. And they're all very skimpy, but there's also just like 3 times as much fabric as you would expect the bikini to have. It's just in weird spots of the body. It's like you get a ton of like upper, like where the leg connects to the
Barbie
to the hip,
joint.
right? Like, yeah, the Barbie joint fully exposed, but the area between the legs is like, I don't know, 6 yards of cloth, like between the butt and the front of it is like just so much bunched up fabric. And it's just like,
It's a lot of weird choices.
They all kind of look like they're wearing diapers. Like they're really like a lot of cloth in this very small space.
So I thought this was going to come back later because the one, she was like Miss March 10 years ago or something, because it's the 25th anniversary of the magazine, I think.
I think that's right. And the other bit is like Tom Hanks knows who every single one of these women is and has memorized their fake little like, I like a man who likes bowling and walking on the beach or whatever it is.
Their next bus bio, as I call it.
Next bus? What is that?
Do you not remember Next from MTV?
Oh, next. Oh. Next space, new word, bus. Okay, yes, I do
Yes.
understand what you're saying. Yes. The show Next on MTV.
The show
I do
Next on
distinctly
MTV.
remember. Yes.
Where
yes,
people
yes.
were judged solely on their appearance, and so
Yes.
it could be sent back to the bus at a handshake.
Yes.
And then they had
Yeah,
one gay episode, and the gays instantly turned it into a strip club in that bus.
We used to watch that a lot in college in the weird downtime between eating dinner and getting ready to go out. And it was like one time we just all were like, well, I guess we're just going to watch this until it's not on anymore. And it was like 10 o'clock. We watched Next for like an embarrassing number of hours.
And Room Raiders was the other one.
Yeah, that one I did not care for as much, but Next is a very funny idea. Reboot Next is what I'm saying. I mean, it's basically Tinder. It's not all
it's
that
just Tinder.
substantially different.
But so there's this moment where like because it's the 25th anniversary, Dabney Hefner is getting together like every Miss Month from the 25 years the magazine has been published, which is a cool idea for that kind of thing.
Agreed. Yeah.
And because this woman looks a little older than all the other women there, but
She
still
does,
gorgeous.
yeah.
She's gorgeous, but she clearly is like, she was a
10 years
10-year-old, a
older.
model 10 years ago, then
Yeah.
whatever. And she's
So
like,
she's like 28 instead of 18. It's like
Yes.
she's not ancient, to be clear.
no, I mean, I thought she was in her 30s, I would have guessed.
Yeah, I was being silly. She's probably 33 instead of 23, but it is like the other women are extremely young.
Because she's like, oh, Dan Aykroyd. Oh, hello. I'm interested in you. And Tom Hanks is like, hey, I'm gonna go back to the car for 15 minutes to look for my notebook. Why don't you just hang out here I'll be in the car.
Yeah.
Whatever. And Aykroyd is like, no, thank you, ma'am. And then we get the summer rental boob joke,
Yes.
which I was
Exactly
like,
the so-rental.
I was like, what?
And years later too, so it's just joke theft.
Yeah.
Which
But I
is
thought
like,
she was
do these
gonna
look
come
real
back
to you?
later.
Me too. I was so surprised.
Especially because later they talk about like you can't get into that party without an invitation, and I was like, oh, it's the woman with the clipboard and the dress
Exactly.
letting the cars in. It's gonna be Miss March 10 years ago, right?
Right. Or that,
movie?
like, or Dan Aykroyd like has her phone number because he got it for the course of the investigation, and now that he's like breaking the rules, he uses it for personal gain as opposed to police work.
Yeah. No, she doesn't. So they end up going for lunch, and this was a moment that my brain didn't expect. Because it's chili dogs, 2 chili dogs, and then what looks like a plate of fruit, but I guess was actually a plate of sushi. And it's Hanks's at first because I thought it was a plate of fruit, so I was like, oh, 1960s man is like, I eat fruit, like I eat healthy or whatever, and Hanks is gonna be like sucking on chili dogs. But no, it's the opposite because it's sushi. Which, if I'd known it was sushi, I would have.
Right. Yeah.
I would have grabbed that. But
It's
Tom Hanks
very
is like,
strange looking sushi.
yeah. Tom Hanks is like, do you know how many rat parts and bug poop is in industrial meat grinders? Blah 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 blah. And Aykroyd is like, I don't like you. I have no my vices are smoking and chili dogs, so leave me alone.
Well, no, he says my only vice is chili dogs, and I wanted to be like, sir, we watch you smoke cigarettes in a lot of this movie. That is also a vice of yours.
No, I thought he said cigarettes and this.
Okay, all right. I didn't.
I thought he acknowledged
I
that
was very
cigarettes
confused.
are a vice because later in the movie, some kids some punks ask him for a cigarette, and he's like, "It's a habit I don't encourage in other people, so I won't give you one."
Yeah.
So their car gets stolen,
Yeah.
which I would have realized sooner if their car was like unique or like had
Yes.
police written on it or something.
Yes.
Because I thought it was just a carjacking.
Right. I wanted it to be what I think would make most sense here is if like Aykroyd was driving a really meticulously cared for 50s car.
Yes, very that.
And it's like, this was my uncle's car. I service it myself, and I get it approved for departmental use with this ongoing waiver.
It's got the wings in the back or the fins.
The fins. Yeah. The other thing that's really interesting with this movie is like throughout a lot of it, we're seeing scenes happen, but it's voiceover to carry you through. And so it's like Aykroyd voicing over sort of like, and then we went to investigate and, followed up our next lead.
He gives the time.
Like B-roll. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you see them interview the guy at the fish market or the guy, whatever. And it's like they roll through a couple of things and then, then we cut to the chili dogs. And it's something that like doesn't feel like it should work, but I think mostly does in this movie, especially in very
It's a smart way to stitch everything together.
Yeah, and it's like we kind of get to fast forward through stuff, but it also feels in line with what I've never seen an episode of Dragnet, but like what I imagine a 50s cop show to be, which is like a little bit stilted and old. This feels like that in a positive way. I will say my next note here, right after the carjacking, it's like, God, I miss goofball Tom Hanks. Like what I wouldn't give for Tom Hanks to go back to 25 years or more in vibe and just do like a real goofball live action.
He's a very stoic old man now.
Yeah. And I think it's like, it's that we've talked about this, I think, before in the show, where it's just like people don't give enough credit to comedy performances as being challenging. And like, I will always go to bat to defend Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny. Like, I think that is an Oscar worthy performance. And I think a good way to like snuff out a film snob is if they dunk on Marissa Tomei winning that Academy Award, because like, completely well deserved. Much like Whoopi and Ghost is like, that movie is way better because of those performances in it. Like it's not just a standard performance, and a good comedy performance is just as hard as a good drama performance. Like
comedy is hard. Dying is easy.
Yes.
Comedy is hard.
Yes. So like I will die on this hill forever. But I think it's like, okay, like you get conditioned. It's like, oh, I won a bunch of Oscars and this kind of acting is like something I can just do now. So like, I'll just do that. It's like, I guess, but like, can't we get him being goofy? Like, can't you do like a older adult rom-com that's not like Larry Crown or whatever that nightmare scooter movie he did was like 5 years ago?
I have no idea what that is.
Is it called? It's probably not called Larry Crown. It's like him and, is it Julia Roberts? I think it's like Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, but like 5 years ago. And the poster was like him riding a moped, like a Vespa.
Huh. I have no touch point for this.
It's because it's a terrible movie, but I just, it's like, I just wish.
I think I kept saying
it is literally called Larry Crown. Hold on. I got to pat myself in the
terrible
back.
name.
It is literally called Larry Crown, and it is literally from 10 years ago.
Show me what the poster looks like. Is it there?
It is literally Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts riding a Vespa.
Huh. Okay. That poster seems familiar because I've seen that Julia Roberts face 100 times.
Yeah.
But I've just seen everywhere I see ads. I was seeing ads for that whatever space robot movie he just did for Apple TV.
I actually think that looks entertaining, but I just would like, just be goofier.
I'm like, have fun. So we meet this like who Baker, not Rick Baker. That's a makeup artist. Tammy Faye Baker's husband.
Yes. This is Christopher Plummer's character.
Yes, he's like a televangelist.
I
What?
almost said Joe Don Baker, which is like the B movie actor. I don't remember Tammy Faye's husband's name.
I just watched the trailer for that movie because I want to watch it because she
Jim?
looks
It's
great.
Jim. It's Jim.
Jim Baker, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Like he's like a Jim Baker, Joel Osteen type, real shithead, religious man.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw him on TV, I was like, oh, the church is behind pagan, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
He's being fawned over. I guess it's also that like Christopher Plummer inherently looks evil and feels
Yes.
evil.
Yeah. He's a real
It's like
sinister
Zachary
looking
Quinto.
mofo.
Like it's hard
Yeah.
to not see Zachary Quinto and be like, "Are you gonna hurt me?"
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I get why people are unsettled by you, for sure.
But so I saw that. I was like, oh, bummer that I called that, but I get it. He's being fawned over by the commissioner.
Yeah, she's like I guess it's like the city council police liaison, basically. Because she's not like
Is
a
that what
sworn
all
officer.
commissioners are? Because Jim Gordon's a commissioner.
Right. So like I only know about things from movies and television because I'm a stupid person. And there's like a whole plot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine about people who are in the principal cast wanting to become commissioners. So I think it probably just depends on the police department. This woman seems like a civilian oversight person, which is like a good thing. It's good when there are those people in departments. Like as a general rule, I'm in favor of them, but they do not explain it very well in this movie. And obviously she is also corrupt, so it's not helpful.
Yes. So they go speak to someone's landlady. I don't remember if it was a disturbance call that happened to be connected, or if it was a piece of evidence that linked.
They're investigating Emil Muzz, who we later find out is Mustache Guy.
Yes. Okay. And the landlady, who I remember from Gremlins 2 as Microwave with Marge. She's been in other stuff that I can't.
She's one of those older actresses that I think got into acting a little bit older, or at least had a big career as an old lady. Like she may have been acting as a younger person. I don't have her IMDb in front of me, but like probably 100 credits on her IMDb easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's great. She's this like sassy, swearing landlady who hates everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, she reminds me a lot of somebody who you see a lot now playing older person. I think she's like 90 years old, but June Squibb is her name. And I think she's one of those people that is just like prolific actor as an older person, is in all sorts of stuff she's like now 90.
What did June Squibb do?
She may be a bad example of this because I pulled up Kathleen Freeman is the actress in this, and she's also in the Blues Brothers, which I had forgotten about, but now that I say it, her Wikipedia has a great line. I'm sorry to just read Wikipedia, but in a career that spanned more than 50 years, she played acerbic maids, secretaries, teachers, busybodies, nurses, and battle-axe neighbors and relatives, almost invariably to comic effect, which is like a great thing to have on your tombstone as an actor.
Honestly, that is the kind of Wikipedia profile I would love to have as an actor.
Right. Yeah. She started acting in the late 40s and acted until her death in 2001, I think. She was an old woman in Shrek, apparently. But June Squibb was
so long.
Yeah, I mean, you're not missing anything. I brought up June Squibb. She's 92, but she didn't start acting, or at least she didn't have film credits until like 1990. So she started acting as an old person. She was in her 60s. Respectfully, an older person, I guess. I don't mean to be mean, but so she mostly has acted as a much older person, and is still acting now. She's 1929, so she's 92. Yeah. But she got nominated for an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Nebraska, that black and white one with Bruce Dern and Will Arnett. No, Will Forte, I think is right. Anyway,
I think I've seen the poster, but I haven't seen the movie.
I haven't seen the movie either, but I just know that she's like been, she's acted mostly she's one of those like people who got into acting as an older person, like, and it fills those kind of roles. But she was in, she was actually quite, I think the movie is fine. I think people overrated it quite a bit, but Hubie Halloween, that Adam Sandler one on Netflix.
It's Adam Sandler, so I avoided it.
So it's like it is Adam Sandler, but it's more like the Adam Sandler movies you liked when you were 12. So like if you can get in that headspace, like it's pretty enjoyable. It's like a stupid voice and he gets hit in the face a lot. You know, it's like very.
It's not. Let me carry a party platter of shrimp down a hallway. Adam Sandler.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's 8% effort instead of 0. So it's like it's still not working very hard. But June Squibb is always wearing these like giant novelty sex joke T-shirts. Like every time she's on screen, it's a different giant thing. It's just like,
I shaved my balls for this.
Yeah, exactly. I think that shirt might literally be one of the ones in the movie.
Well, I mean, that one's from Birds of Prey.
Yeah, so I literally think that is one of the ones, like that would be a joke that the shirts that you would wear. So it's just like she's 90 years old and she's like, Hubie, what are you doing? And wearing this like, you know, who wants a mustache ride T-shirt, you know.
So they have to go through this guy's trash to find evidence, like something clue to where he's going or who he is or where he is. And they find a Polaroid with a phone number written on the back. We get the very, very topical humor of, we can't find a phone booth.
I mean, topical for the time.
I know that. I know it's topical in 1987, but in 2021, I was like, good Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were we also using carrier pigeons and churning our own butter? What are we doing? Sorry to be that millennial, but
you
like
tiny little baby bastard. This does lead eventually, though, to one of my favorite sequences in the movie, which is the comedy car chase. That's right here, right? Right after the phone? Or did I jump ahead?
No, they do this. It does lead into. I don't remember what happens between phone call and this, but I think they figure out that he's Hugh Hefner's driver.
Yeah, he like happens to be like right there as well for some reason or another. I don't.
No. They ask because they call the number. They find a payphone. They call the number and they say he's Mr. Hefner's driver and he is sailing in the port or whatever, the marina.
Okay. Yes.
I also fully thought we were going to get a blowjob joke here.
Oh, which in what way?
So they approach the limo and he's laying with his head back and not moving. And I was like, is this a blowjob? Are they going to walk up to a blowjob?
It sure looked like it. Yeah, for sure. But it isn't. It's just, him taking a little snooze, which is fine. You know, if you can get it on your job, get on your job. But he takes off. Yeah, he takes off in the limo. And so they're chasing him.
It's a good car chase.
It is. It's like a really good Blues Brothers-esque comedy car chase. And at this point, are they in the Yugo? Like they keep their car. One of the through lines of the movie is like Hanks and Aykroyd's car.
They don't get the Yugo
worse.
Yet. The Yugo comes after
they're car
the
number
piggy
2.
meeting.
Okay. So their first car got stolen. They're in like a backup car. They have this big car chase. There's one particularly great sequence where Emil Muzz, the bad guy, drives around some rowboats that like inexplicably get linked to his car, and so he's dragging. It's not long enough.
The anchor gets. Yeah, he hooks the anchor on his trunk or something.
But it's like it is somehow connected to like 3 boats to start, and then they like start falling off. And I will say, like, the one thing I would have liked is just like a little more of this, because it's just crazy goofy that he's dragging 3 boats. But it's all really good. There's also the sequence that I really enjoyed was just the cars crash through. It's just a perfect like backlot movie nonsense thing of just like, oh, there's a guy selling stuffed animals on the side of the road, but it's just like a huge display of them. It's not, It
looks like it looks like they took a display from like a Toys R Us and put it on the side of the road.
Yes. And so they like blow through it, and there's like Muppet toys going everywhere, and all sorts of like stuffed dogs and bears. Just like
it's
really
their version of the fruit stand.
Yes, exactly. It's a sillier fruit stand.
Which I guess, now that I say that out loud, kind of surprised there wasn't a real fruit stand.
Honestly, it felt like they were like, everyone does a fruit stand, we got to do a not a fruit stand. Is what led to the stuffed animals.
So they catch him and put him in the interview room. Yeah. And this is the only one of the weird things for Aykroyd's character, because I was like, it feels like he fully understands what's happening.
He definitely is looking the other way about police brutality, which is bonkers for the guy he is.
That's what I was like, maybe I'm misreading this. Like, maybe he doesn't understand, but it seems like he fully gets that Hanks is like, why don't you take 20 minutes and get a Snickers bar? And I'm going I'm gonna slam his balls in a drawer.
Yeah. It's the first one. You're like, oh, does he not get it? And then he comes back in, and the bad guy is like sweating bullets, looks like really in pain, tells him all this information. Then he stops, and Hanks is like, why don't you get some Danishes to go with this coffee? And he pulls the drawer open, and they like wink at each other. And I'm like, okay, he definitely knows that
It's a knowing look.
This is some casual police brutality that he is very okay with.
So they learn where the meeting is going to be, and they get some, weird disguises. I didn't realize that Hanks was. Is Hanks supposed to be Muzz? Is that why he's dressed the way he is?
I guess he does look he doesn't he's using his ID, but he doesn't super look like him to me. Other than the fact that they both have mustaches, it's not like a good, oh, you're this guy. It's like you're close enough. But this is like my eternal memory of this movie. Like the one thing that stuck in my head was Dan Aykroyd in a crazy mohawk, weird wig, and they both had sheep leggings on. Like I know, like just these huge woolly sheep leggings. So that's like all I remember from the movie. So when this finally happened, I was like, oh, and it makes some sense in context, and it's still a funny visual. Like, oh, good job,
it's logical.
Yeah.
So they get pulled over, and at first I was like, oh, the cops are in on the pagan thing, and then I was like, no, they're not. The stolen cop car from earlier, they're not cops. Got it.
My notes are literally, oh, dag, the cops are bad guys? That's an interesting twist. Oh, no, wait, this is the stolen car.
That's my exact note, yeah.
Yeah.
So they learn that pagan stands for people against goodness and niceness?
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Something
or normalcy?
Like that. Goodness and normalcy feels right, yeah.
And it's being projected on like one of those signs on the side of the road that says like, buckle up, or if you're driving in Delaware, they're like fun, cute sayings like trees should be lit, not drivers.
Oh, wow, that's a different
Delaware has like whoever's writing their signs is a gay in social media.
So they go into the pagan party and they're like, don't forget your goat leggings, and they just like hand them through the window. And I was like, well, if they needed to bring them from home, why is there such a wide availability of them at the event? Like, and if so, why are we?
I think it was more, don't
home?
Forget to put them on. Like, we provide them.
Right. But then a guy comes up with this huge tray of pills and is just like, you want anything? And he does absolutely no describing of what any of these. It's not just like, okay, maybe he doesn't know the name of all of them, but it's not like faster, slower, upper, downer. There's just like no descriptor. It's just like pick a color, any color. Like
uppers, downers, and candy corn.
It seems like the worst possible scenario of like, hey, it's a mystery pill. Hooray!
That's another Birds of Prey thing. There's ladies in like cigarette girl outfits at the club walking around with trays of pills, and I'm like, but what do they do?
Yeah, it's like
at least let me know that like, this is a Tylenol PM or whatever.
This is a Sudafed.
Yeah.
I like the idea that in our wild fantasy of a party, the tray of pills is Sudafed and Tylenol. We're very cool people who do this podcast about 80s movies. It's not like,
doing a drug.
I got Molly and Speed and you know, Dexies or whatever. And I'm just like, nah, I go for a suit. Do you know what? Do you got a Pepsid? I was eating those pigs in the blanket, and now I got like some heartburn brewing. You know what I did? I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, a total stranger, pill cigarette girl, but I dipped the pig in the blanket in the French onion dip. I know. It sounds gross. It was delicious. But now the heartburn. You wouldn't believe the heartburn.
Do you have Mucinex DM or just Mucinex? I like the DM.
The DM doesn't give me the nightmares. That might be backwards. One of the Mucinex is nightmare-y. I don't remember which
really?
One, but there's a variant of Mucinex that I always get real fucked up nightmares on. I don't remember which one.
So this guy in a white robe, very reminiscent of young Sherlock Holmes. Callback to the archives.
So, future episode, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
Oh, yeah. He's like, bring out the virgin in the white dress. And I was like, oh, that's right. The landlady's wedding dress was stolen.
Right.
And I was like, that's a weird thing. And then I was like, oh, okay, that's a fun, I get it, leaving the breadcrumbs to follow.
Sure.
And they push this woman into the pit, and it just turns into that scene from Army of Darkness for a minute.
It does, except the snake looks way faker than the witch in Army of Darkness.
It looks like the one from Jungle Cruise that's in the tree that just goes back and forth.
Just a very fake looking plastic snake for those who don't get that reference. But yes, 100% agreed. Although I do really like they both jump in to save her. Hanks has the head, Aykroyd has the tail, and like first Hanks seems to be winning and Aykroyd seems to be or maybe it's backwards. First Aykroyd seems to be winning and Hanks is losing, and then it kind of flips and Aykroyd is choking, and like the part around Aykroyd looks pretty good, but the head is just terrible.
It's not a good head.
But I love that the solution is Hanks just takes the handful of pills and puts it down its neck and then holds.
He drugs the snake.
Yeah.
And somehow those pills aren't mush in his pocket.
Right. Well, I also was like, is this going to be a Viagra joke? But then I was like, no, you're like 15 years too early. But if that was now, the snake would have turned.
So the tail does do a boing.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I was like, oh, okay. That's kind of funny. Like the snake's just going to be a straight line. Like if the snake turned into a spear, it would be.
And they use it to climb out.
Yeah, exactly. Or just they hit somebody with it, but it just like it springs and then it falls over. And I was just like, oh, like that would be funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be stupid as hell, but I would like it. Turns out I didn't write down this actress's name, but she did play Stephanie on Baywatch.
Okay, and she was in Christine 4 years before, and it's amazing how much short hair will age you in this time period.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I was like, she looks like an adult woman, and in Christine, she looked like a teenager. So she sees the priest. She knocks his mask off in the escape and sees the priest. They get into their car, their stolen car, they steal it back, and they drive away.
There's a pretty good comedy fight on the way out, I think, of like, there's just like, it's lots of big wild punches and some kicks and stuff, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you think it's that easy to drive through a fence like that?
So a thing that is interesting watching older movies with car stuff is cars used to have way less safety features. And I think like some of that might be related.
Okay.
Cars now are designed to crumple and break in ways that protect the passengers. Like your car is just a series of zones designed to crumple away. Zones. Yeah, and not hurt you. Like if you get hit on the front, like it crunches all that up and it's designed to break there instead of impacting you. So it's possible. I think like if you took your average pickup truck or SUV today, you could plow through a fence no problem. I don't know about like a Honda Accord or a Toyota Yaris. You know what I mean?
Ford Fusion.
Yeah, yeah.
So they drive the Virgin home, and she lives in a Barbie dream house.
She really does. It's very strange looking.
Or like one of those 90s Hallmark house ornaments that our mom has on the tree.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's just like a weird like cookie cutter perfection thing.
Yeah.
So they meet with they call the chief in at like 4 a.m. And
yeah,
it's a weird thing that like, it's a movie thing. I know, but like, because they're still dressed as like undercover cops, like for their punk outfits, immediately no one takes them seriously. And I'm like, they're still them. It's not like strangers walked in and were like, we got to tell you something, see?
Right. And also it's
these are still your cops.
And one of the things that they choose not to believe them over is they're like, oh, you've been up all night? And they're like, yeah, doing an investigation that we have logged with the department. It's not like this was like a secret operation. Like we checked out clothes from the costume closet, you know?
And then when all the pills come out, I'm like, this is evidence. Like,
right.
See what drugs are in them, and then you can maybe narrow down where they come from.
Right. And they're like, oh, so you've been doing pills all night? Like, why is that the impression we leap to here?
That's a Tylenol PM.
That's a Sudafed.
So they drive back to the place to meet the commissioner there, and everything is gone. This was a little too much. Like, the pit was filled in with dirt.
Yeah.
And I was like, where did that dirt come from? Like,
right.
Dirt has to come from somewhere.
Like I want the scene where the cops get away and just someone yells, time to clean it up. Just like, give me, like, obviously they don't want to spoil the giveaway, but it is a preposterous level of cleanup.
Because, like, I understand they took down the stage, and the sign, and like that I get, but like the pit being filled in with dirt, I was like, that's too much. Like, it should have it can still be a pit in the ground without a snake in it.
Right. We just watched Big, and we saw what happened when the carnival left town and how much just trash and random shit was all over the place.
Exactly.
Like, I'm led to believe that the pagans are like picking up every beer bottle and bottle cap. I don't think so.
Now, before we leave, everyone look around and pick up 3 things that aren't yours.
Yeah. There's a trash can every 9 feet.
So the commissioner is like, these men, because the commissioner talks like she's a 1940s femme fatale.
She
even
does.
Even though she's like an older woman and not like trying to be like she's not a sexual character, but she talks like that.
Right. Yeah,
She's
no,
like,
you're
these
right.
2 are off the case.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, no, I
What?
agree. You did this like little shoulder move with it. It made me laugh.
It's, well, when you do 40s femme fatale,
I didn't think it was bad or weird.
Jessica Rabbit,
It just
you have
made me
to.
laugh. It was funny. You were doing something funny and I laughed at it. This is not a dunk.
this is not bullying.
I'm not bullying by laughing at your joke. I don't think so.
So this is where I was like, oh, the commissioner's in on the pagans too.
Yeah, for sure. She makes the captain. Oh, by the way, we should have mentioned their captain is from the original Dragnet. Playing the same character who has now been promoted.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. The Dragnet heads out there are going to be like, finally.
All 2 of you.
If there is a person who watched Dragnet in its original run and is listening to this podcast, they are, let's say, an extra 10 years, 80. So if you are 80 and listening to this podcast, 80 plus, please say hi. We'd love to hear it. Dissectingthe80s@gmail.com.
Now I'm just picturing like
856 dissect.
RuPaul's Dragnet, and it's just a bunch of drag queens solving crimes.
Just the wigs, ma'am. Just the wigs.
Just the wigs.
So they drop Aykroyd at his place, and then when the car explosion happens after
It's at Hanks's house.
That's right. Okay,
Because
sorry.
Aykroyd goes to him, and
Right.
as he like goes up into his like knock on his door, we see this like Alphonse, like the Mario Brothers catering company or whatever.
Yeah.
And
I think it literally is Mario and something else. I can't remember.
no,
what.
it's Alphonse and something.
Okay.
I just almost said Alphonse and Coran, but I was like, that's definitely.
That's a director.
And we see what's Muzz's name? Elon.
Emil Muzz.
Emil. As Aykroyd goes up the steps, we like push into this like the catering truck, and it's Emil Muzz like twirling his mustache like
Oh
he's
yeah.
It's like an SNL sketch or like a it looks like it's the Turn and Smile, like his opening credits, like his name should pop up underneath, like
Absolutely.
and Emil Muzz.
Yes.
So their car explodes.
Great car explosion.
It's good. And Hanks is like, let me show you where to get a good cup of coffee. And he goes to a strip club where there's pasties. And I was like,
Yeah.
I feel like the whole allure of the strip club is that there's no pasties.
You know how to put the clothes on, but you don't know how to take them off.
I was like, this isn't burlesque. She's just wiggling
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, it was weird, but I was wondering if is this PG-13? Like maybe it was just the PG-13 thing.
This if it was PG-13, it would have been early PG-13 because Gremlins is PG is the first PG-13. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So this would have been 3 years after that.
No, Gremlins is 84.
Yeah.
Why did I think Gremlins was 87?
I don't know.
So maybe this is PG-13.
Yeah. Yeah, Gremlins is 84. I have just confirmed this. I don't know why. I always have the Wikipedia up on my phone for like answering quick questions like this, and this information is never on the Wikipedia, and I don't know why.
Yeah, why can't we put ratings on the Wikipedia?
It's like just put every country's rating. I don't need this to be America centric. I just want to know.
Or even if you do all the English-speaking countries, like, that's
Right.
fine.
Plus, it's hard to Google because when you Google rating, it was PG-13, so that is the answer. We have found it. But there's also a different Just the Facts song playing either in the strip club or right after. I can't remember what the sequence is, but there's a different Just the Facts like theme song plays here.
I think it's after.
Okay.
So they figure out that that there's a secret milk factory that is. Oh, we didn't mention that there were 2 chemicals stolen that, like, when combined, create like a corrosive, breathable gas.
It's very similar, honestly, to the Joker plot in the original Batman.
Kind of Joker gas, yeah.
It's very, very similar to that.
Except this one kills you instead
Right.
of makes you laugh or whatever.
Right. I thought you laughed to death with the Joker gas.
Maybe, but I would rather that than let me breathe and my lungs dissolve.
Oh, fair. So this is that scene you were talking about before. Aykroyd is waiting on the street for Tom Hanks, and these three like tough guys show up and kind of start harassing him, and they ask him.
Well, they say that he says that Hanks was bringing his talking to his contact or whatever,
Yeah.
and then these punks showed up, and I was like, oh, is he gonna like beat him up, and Hanks is gonna come out and be like, these are my buddies?
I totally thought that's what it was, because the strip club. The reason they went to the strip club is so Hanks could talk to an informant.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, it's like this is one of the few like eye rolly bits. Like watching this in modern times, it's like, oh, the Asian guy has nunchucks. Of course he does. And it was just like,
Yeah.
all right, come on, movie, be better than that stupid shit. But it's mostly like shockingly, this movie drops no F-bombs, which I was sure were going to be involved in there somewhere.
Yeah, you'd think one or two would have.
It's like the police station and they're dressed like they're dressed with the leggings. I was like, oh boy, here it comes. Like, no. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Good job, movie. So
yeah, you did the bare minimum.
Now, yes, then not.
Yes.
Way above the bare minimum.
Not as terrible as you could have been. So they get this like, I feel like I've seen this before in like riot scenes.
Right.
It's like a small tank with a big like pole sticking out of it with a flat thing on it.
It's designed to bust doors open. I think they might even use this in Die Hard. This might be part of the way they're trying to breach Nakatomi Plaza.
I think you're right. That's probably where I know it from. You would think the flat part would be wider.
Yeah.
It seems small.
Yes.
Like it seems like a calendar size.
I think it's designed to like be aimed directly at where the lock mechanism is and apply like a ton of force in a small area to just break the lockout on a door. But I'm
That
just
makes sense.
speculating.
So
But I agree with you. It seems like you'd want this thing to be like 6x6, just like boom,
Yeah.
put a big hole in the wall. Yeah.
So they smash into this milk factory,
It's a milk bottling plant, I guess.
but they smash up all of these like industrial like floor to ceiling tubs of milk, and I was just like, I would
Yes.
vomit. I would vomit so fast. That room is
You're
gonna,
never
that room gonna
cleaning-
smell terrible.
You're never cleaning this room. Like you have to torch it. The only
I mean,
solution
luckily
here.
it's all like concrete and steel. That's a plus.
Even so, you're never. I feel like you're never like there is not enough bleach in the world to solve this problem.
Yeah. I mean, that we are also not milk people.
Well, I enjoy a glass of milk when it's appropriate. I love milk with cookies or dessert. I will drink milk. I am constantly getting dunked on for like we're having a cookie and I pour like a half or more of a pint glass of milk. I like milk. I do not like milk with savory foods.
See, I don't generally care for milk. Like if like chocolate cake, I'm
Well,
like, no,
you have lactose issues.
I'm lactose sensitive, but I can like,
Yeah.
I'm fine to
You're
like
not gonna
have.
sit down to a glass of moo juice.
No, but like even with taking a lactate or just like dairy free alternatives or whatever, it's very rarely like I'll do it with like Oreos and cereal, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Warm chocolate chip cookie. I want my glass of milk.
Yeah. And it turns out the milk was just milk, and they get like thrown out, and then turns out the milk was a cover, but
Yes.
they had the real thing in there.
Yes. And the drugs
It was
have
a-
just been processed
It
through.
was a real nesting doll situation.
Yeah. It's also like, all right, I'm not like, it's Dragnet. This is not the movie to have this conversation about, but isn't it going to be like really expensive to just like, shouldn't you have to flush these lines really thoroughly first? Like, isn't all this milk just trash? And is it like, milk's not expensive necessarily, but it's not cheap. Like, who's paying for all this milk? Like, this is just
Maybe they
this
just
is
dyed water.
Could have been, but no, because Aykroyd licks his lips and is like, it's milk,
You're right.
and he doesn't get any taste of chemical in there. So it's like, did they just like flush the lines with gallons? Like somebody is. All I'm saying is, I think we need to re-examine the bookkeeping of this criminal enterprise because they're spending a lot of unnecessary money in order to make the drugs flow.
There's a lot of overhead we're not
Yeah.
considering.
Yeah.
So they're driving away from that, and Tom Hanks is like, I'm watching my TV watch.
I want the scene where Christopher Plummer is like screaming at some little nebbish nerd with tiny round glasses. And
His
he's like,
comptroller.
yeah, what do you mean we don't have any money? Well, sir, you spent $17,485 on milk to get this plan past the detectives. So we lost most of the profits on this operation. And then,
Was it last week we talked about a comptroller?
Yes, or might have been 2 episodes ago, but we were recently talking about comptrollers. But yes, he needs a better comptroller. Somebody to be like, look, it's cheaper to flush this thing with water or some other solvent.
So yeah, Tom Hanks has a TV watch, and I was like,
Yes.
Was that a thing?
I don't remember a watch, but I do remember handheld TVs being like the shit, like the cool prize you could win with the wrapping paper sales in elementary school.
Yeah, because I remember they were sort of the size of like a football, like the handheld football games.
Yeah.
And then the screen was about where the football stadium was. So it was probably, I don't know, 2x3, 1x2.
2x3. Yes, it's probably like 2x2 or 2x3. I don't
remember
it.
those, but I don't remember the watch.
I'm sure this existed in some way, shape, or form, but I do not know what it is.
Do they still do the wrap? Is that like a current touchstone for
I have
children?
no idea. It also is one of those things that you don't think about until you're an adult, but you're like, man, that is just a sad indicator of our education system that it's like, we got to get the kids to do fundraising so our school is solvent. Guess they better get out there and sell wrapping paper.
Yeah. Although I do remember, because I worked in the TV studio in middle school, I got to do the like $1 million sticky thing.
Oh, okay. Like you got in the tornado tunnel.
Yeah, and it was like fake money, and however much you grabbed, you got to like keep.
Oh,
but I think it was more like me
actually go in with money.
No. I think it was more like me demonstrating one of the prizes.
Oh, you got to do it with paper. Still fun,
so no, it wasn't real. I think even if a student won, it wasn't real money in there. It was like they would come out and count it, and then you would get that, like rather than like you swirling around with money.
It seems much more fun if it was real money.
Yeah, probably.
Also, I feel like my plan for that would always be duct tape the neck hole of my shirt shut and hold it open.
Yes, that would, yeah.
Trap it all, duct tape my shirt shut and hold the bottom open. Anyway.
So on his TV watch.
Is really good at preacher cadence, I will say. Very, very good.
Yeah, he nails it. I think that's because, controversial yet brave, it's 2 sides of the same coin for zealous preacher and creepy villain.
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of the same boxes that get checked.
The character he is playing here is for sure a villain. Like it's not. There's
yes, but I mean, like the cadence of like preacher is similar to the cadence of villain.
Absolutely. So they go on a double date here, where Aykroyd is picking up his grandmother. Excuse me.
Hanks sneaks in because Aykroyd's like, I have plans tonight. So Hanks follows him on his motorcycle and does this whole like Nightmare on Elm Street monologue. And then we see that it's Aykroyd's grandmother.
Yes. The part with him doing the Freddy stuff I thought was really excellent. And I was like, man, again, goofball Hanks, come back. We want you. But I love Hanks immediately. Like, it's not lecherous. Like, so there is a punchline here that I was totally expecting that I did not get. But like, they go on this double date, and we're gonna have to rewind to talk about some plot stuff. But like, at the end of the date, Aykroyd goes home with his date, and Hanks takes grandma on the motorcycle. And then we like cut to the next morning, and Hanks is in bed, and I was like, oh, he had sex with the grandmother. And
I fully thought that was gonna be the punchline.
Yeah. Which I thought it would, like, I genuinely would have found amusing. Like, it would have been fine with me if she was like, I gotta go get it, Granny. You're fine.
Yeah. Although I think it's more like this YouTuber I like, Mamrie, talked about in her book that she's like, I like, fun flirting with old men at a bar, not in a way of like leading them on or like, yeah, we're gonna fuck, but just like, I'm reminding you of some fiery redhead from your youth, or like in that kind of like fun, playful, remember when sense.
Right.
But they go to the Brown Derby, which only exists in Disney World now.
That's true. It is no longer a real place. But there's like some fun stuff here where she, Connie, they call her the Virgin throughout most of the movie, which is kind of a bummer. But Stephanie from Baywatch, she IDs Christopher Plummer as the bad guy, and Aykroyd is like, well, I'm gonna arrest him. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And Hanks is like really trying to talk him out of doing this very stupid thing he wants to do, which of course,
but also like, isn't there still due process to arresting people?
So My assumption is like he arrests my assumption is yes, that like that is the biggest problem of this is, you know, you don't have enough evidence and there's like a whole bunch of stuff you should do here. But the other thing is like, hey, that's an incredibly powerful person. So if you're going to play this particular card, you need to like really be sure that this card is going to be good when it's played.
Mm-hmm. You need to have your Charizard in the back pocket.
Yes, exactly.
Hanks also calls ahead to the restaurant and orders a bottle of chilled Dom Perignon for the table.
Very solid move, especially when he knows he's not picking up the check and it's for Grandma's birthday, so you know that you're getting it. Very smart move. Alexandra Paul is the actress's name that we keep not saying. She was the one who was in Christine and Dragnet, obviously, and Baywatch.
Hanks also gives a cute toast to Grandma that I had not heard. It's very, it seems like one of those classic.
Yeah, I thought it was really
just,
nice.
Like have them on the back burner.
And it's also like very playful flirting, like you were alluding to. Is like I don't think anybody I don't think Grandma thinks he's actually hitting on him, but it's like, oh, it's just, you know, it's like a nice little flirt. But the big ending here is Aykroyd tries to arrest Christopher Plummer, and
he arrests him in the bathroom.
Yes,
and I thought. So he like the priest, the reverend, goes into the stall, and Aykroyd's like talking at him through the stall door. And then when he's done, everyone applauds him, and he puts one handcuff on the priest and one of the reverend and one on himself. And I was like, he walks him out of the bathroom. I was like, no, he should have walked him over to the sink and made him wash his hands first.
Yes, also would have been much funnier. And like, or even if like Aykroyd like washed his hands.
Yes. Yeah. Or like they're just, you know, side by side washing hands.
Yeah. Would have liked that a lot. I agree. But they go to the table and the commissioner and the captain, I'm not sure what the rank is of their boss. I don't know that he's the chief of police, but he is certainly their boss. And so they like strip Aykroyd of his badge and gun. They uncuff Christopher Plummer.
I thought we were going to get Chekhov's bullets because we have a very like close up zoom. He's like, give me your gun. And Aykroyd like flips it. It's one of the like old style revolvers. So he like flicks it open and empties the bullets into his hand and then hands the gun to the chief. And I was like, oh, those are going to come back later.
Yeah. They do not.
No.
Not in any significant way, anyway.
So, Granny and... Because they guess they never ate. So, Granny and Tom Hanks go for chili dogs on his motorcycle. And Aykroyd, I guess, is like, fuck my grandma's birthday. I want to go on a romantic date.
To be fair, he did kind of ruin it. So when Granny's like, I'm having a chili dog with this young stud, he's like, well, I mean, fair play to you, Granny. I screwed this up.
No, I mean, I just think it's interesting that he wasn't like, we should also go with them. But
yeah.
Instead, they have a cute little like moment in the car at the Hollywood sign under the stars. And then Emil Muzz shows up and lifts their car like he's Jessica goddamn Jones and just flips it.
Yeah, that was super bonkers. This is when they're in the Yugo, though, right?
Yes, they're in the Yugo.
And I think the Yugo is like a very tiny vehicle.
It's like a smart car.
I know the Yugo is a punchline to things, but I don't know if it is like, you know, light enough for a man to lift.
I mean, if it's anything like a smart car, I bet two people could flip a smart car.
Yeah, the internet tells me that it weighed less than 2,000 pounds. So I feel like...
Is 1,000 pounds a ton? Is 2,000 pounds 2 tons?
I thought 2,000 pounds was a ton. Maybe that's a metric ton. A ton is 2,000 pounds. So it's great. It's a 1 ton car. But like, so obviously he couldn't lift it on his own, but it's like 4 people might be able to. 6 people might be able to. Like lift it at all. I'm not saying like put it over their heads. Just lift it.
So he flips their car and then we see Hanks in bed with a woman from the precinct.
Yeah. I think it's the same woman a couple of times. At least.
Yeah.
If it's not, they cast 2 women who look very, very similar. They're both blonde.
Or 3 women. This is the second of 3 times.
You're right. But also condoms. Holy shit. Condoms in a movie. Wow.
And a burger phone.
Yes.
I love a burger phone.
Who doesn't?
So he gets a call on the burger phone that's like, we don't know where Dan Aykroyd is. We don't know where the Virgin is. So he goes to work. And this is a weird thing that happens where he's like, Chief, he's missing. And he's like, check the loony bin, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, so does he hate him?
Yeah.
Because earlier he like seems to treat him with reverence. And now he hates him. And then later, like in 10, 15 minutes, spoiler, he's like, I didn't have the heart to turn your gun and badge in. So here you go, Dan Aykroyd. And I was like, that's not the vibe I got.
Right. It's very, very strange in this section for sure.
And Hanks is kind of becoming Dan Aykroyd. Like some guy
Yes.
walks
He has
past him
mustard
eating
on
a
his
donut.
thigh.
That's what it is.
And it's like,
And he
next
reads in
time
the
you have
riot act
lunch,
about, like,
yeah.
You get a haircut and shave your face and clean the mustard off your shirt.
But next time you have lunch, you make sure it gets in your mouth and not on your uniform.
Yes.
And this is where we learn that Dabney Coleman and Christopher Plummer are in cahoots.
Sort of.
Yes. Well, they
Plummer is the ringleader.
Yeah.
And he's planning on using Dabney Coleman and then killing him.
Yeah.
And then leaving with the commissioner.
Right. Which, is it's a supervillain plan, but that's fine. Like, he's kind of a supervillain.
Yeah.
Here.
It's just like, he's like, I will control all the good and the evil people. And I was
Yes.
like, yeah, that just also seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, agreed. All of these
Like,
villain plans, I'm like, don't you just want to veg?
But like for him, that means he has to literally have a double life and like
Right.
during the day be the reverend and then at night be like hell priest. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a 20-hour day.
exactly. Seems really exhausting to me. I do not have the stamina for supervillainy. I've learned this
Outsource.
about myself. Yeah, exactly.
Outsource.
Hire good people, and then you don't have to worry about things.
So Hanks finds Emil Muzz at Muscle Beach
Right.
because of the photo
The photo previously we saw with the
with the phone number on the back.
phone number on the back and the two like bodybuilder ladies on the front.
This was about where I said this movie definitely could have been a tight 90. It's like an hour 50, hour 45.
It's like 145, but I do think it's probably closer to 100 minutes because it's got a pretty lengthy credit sequence and a pretty lengthy opening credits. So it's like actual movie runtime. If you skip around is probably about 100 minutes, but it does feel a little long. I totally like it. It could be 10 minutes shorter, no problem.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of lobster at this sexy magazine party.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of lobster eating, and like
It looks like a lobster fest.
Yeah.
Or a fucking Red Lobster commercial.
right, and like lobster is a fancy food, but is very difficult to eat. So I've never quite understood how it gets this reputation. Like, it's one thing if you're eating like a lobster that has been like it's a tail that's been like cut in half and the meat's pulled out and they cook it and do stuff to it and put it back in. You just eat it with a fork. But when they're just like serving you a lobster, it's like, this is like a job. This is like eating ribs.
No, I want to see Batman's parents in the gown, in the opera length gloves, cracking
Yeah.
into those big claws. That's what I want to see. I want to see the rich people working for it.
Right. It's like, is there just like a secret rich people menu where the lobster comes in it's all cracked and you're just like pulling it out with a fork, but it's like in the shell, but not in the shell?
So that is a thing restaurants do.
I've seen that before, like for like appetizers, especially with like a crab leg or something like that. Like I went to Legal Seafood once and the table next to us ordered this like huge platter of crab. And it was like, oh, it's like all cracked already. Wow. And wow, you got 2 platters marked market price, eh? Wow. Somebody's doing all right.
Yeah. And so Aykroyd and Hanks get to the party and Aykroyd's thinking like a loose cannon cop. He's not thinking like himself. And then we see all of the all the dirty magazines being like poured into the driveway to be set on fire. And I was like,
right. Yeah.
Seems like maybe we don't want to draw a lot of attention to ourselves, but okay.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not the supervillain here.
They're very Batman villainy in that they want credit for their crimes, which is not typically how these things work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your dilemma was
exactly. Yeah. It's
Paul
very,
and
I guess
Joe
that
from
comes from, like,
Suggins
the
gang,
Wild
and then they
West,
shoot
like,
their name into the wall and leave.
Make sure you tell them that the James gang robbed this bank. And I'm like, I mean, doesn't it make it more likely you're going to get caught if you're just like telling everybody who did it? All right. Exactly.
Yeah. The Wet Bandits.
So they have like this becomes like the big fight, right? Like we got or I guess it's before the big fight. We see what's being set up. So like there's like what would be like an air conditioning truck, but it's obviously there to pump poison gas in, is like running airlines. Yes. Like,
so it's going to murder a lot of people. Like, that's the thing, is that like up till now, the pagan crimes have been like, talked about, but not major. But like this is murdering
several decades,
200 people,
Playmates, which are like people that people know about. This is going to be a really big crime. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and violent. Like people are gonna walk in and it's gonna be
clawing
like
at their own
dissolved
faces,
throats,
like really bad
and
rictus of death
stomachs.
situations. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna look like fucking Scarecrow's fear toxin. So Aykroyd calls in the police to show up.
Yeah.
No, Hanks calls in the police because
Yes.
Hanks has to be like, Aykroyd, you're
it's
not
like,
a cop.
It's supposed to be the
I will
maturity
handle
thing
this,
rubbing off
which
on
I thought was
everything.
weird.
It's like they switch places. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Right.
it was
You just
he was
can't
like,
do
you should
anything.
go home, and I'm like, he can
Right,
stay, like he can be here watching you. So Hanks calls back up, but they show up, and then there's a big shootout.
Yeah, they do lean
For a
that
second,
way,
I
and
thought
then
the
very
chief was
quickly
gonna
it's
be
like,
in on it.
JK, I'm a good cop, and here, Dan Aykroyd, take your badge back. You're gonna need this. So he hops behind the wheel of the car. They realize at this point that Connie, the virgin character Dan Aykroyd is in love with, has been abducted. And part of the reason he's become so loose cannon-y is because he's in love with this woman, and he's like, oh, I've never felt this way before. I get why people act crazy. And so he's like, him driving to chase her to the airport is quite good. Of like, he's driving like a maniac, and he's like zipping around. Yeah. Cars are like, squealing out of the way.
Driving through
But
a
I also
tunnel on the
really
wrong
enjoy
side.
The bit in the airplane. So it's Christopher Plummer, the police commissioner, and Connie, who's tied up in the front seat. And the commissioner like gets off the plane, sees Plummer, and is like, "Oh, good, you're here." He's like, "Yeah, is she tied up on board?" Yeah. Okay, well, I gotta check something on board. Can you? Yes.
Well, no, she says the police are onto us. They raided the mansion. They foiled the plan. We're gone
It's
for.
like, oh, you're
and he
right.
says, "Why don't you go look for the police? I'll
like,
go
how
untie
dumb
the
can you be?
girl."
Of course, this is not how
And
this is
of
gonna
course,
go.
no.
He takes off, and she's like running alongside the plane for a couple minutes, and I was like, "Is this lady gonna get Indiana Jones propellered?" Because it seems like this lady's gonna get Indiana Jones propellered, but no, it's the wrong tone for this movie.
No,
But it
I
seem
did
like
not think that.
Yeah, he's a very rich man.
I also like that the Reverend is flying his own plane.
Yeah, you would think a lackey.
I
would
was
be
like,
involved
there's
in
not like
this. But then I guess,
a lackey in there
might
flying
not
the
wanna
plane.
Kidnap a woman, so.
I mean, if you're a
That's
reverend,
true.
I'm
Also,
sure
did
you can
clock,
convince people
at
to
one
do
point,
things.
Dan Aykroyd in his wild driving goes past a gas station. Did you clock how much a gallon of unleaded regular was in Los Angeles in 1986 or 7? 71 cents.
$1.25.
I always remember that it's
I was
like
gonna say
87 or
less than
89
$1,
cents in
but-
Die Hard, which is 89. So a big jump in that 2-year period. Also, this part is particularly silly. So
Mhm.
Plummer and Stephanie, or Connie, not Stephanie, take off in the plane, and they're flying from Los Angeles to Mexico, which I think by car, the border from Los Angeles to Mexico is like 2.5 hours, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a great geographer.
It's close.
Geogriffin, so that tells you how good I am at geography. But I think Los Angeles to Mexico is like pretty close. So I was baffled that a plane flying several hundred miles an hour wasn't just essentially inside Mexico within 20 to 30 minutes. Right.
Or at least an hour. Like
Right.
1 hour. Because it's the next morning.
Right.
Like the
It's
sun
just
is
like, now,
rising,
wait a
and they
second.
catch
What was
him
the
in
time?
an LAPD
This is one of those
jet.
things where it's like, day to night shifts. Okay, so it's 3 hours to Tijuana from Los Angeles by car. So it can't be more than an hour flight. Hour 10. But anyway, that's fine. It's a silly movie. That's fine.
Yeah, there's
I just
no
was
way.
like, make it not Mexico. Make it somewhere farther away. Make him going like to Chile or something.
Yeah. So they
Right.
catch
Well,
the
maybe
Reverend.
she confessed
They don't
and
tell us
they
what
got
happened to the
leniency.
commissioner. But like, I'm surprised. Like this should have had the
Like,
Animal
they
House
got
style
married and stuff like that.
freeze frames.
Yeah, I could see that working really well here.
Yeah. But the only thing we learn
Yes.
is that the Reverend
There's
goes
like
to
a
jail,
very
and
big, like,
the Virgin is not a virgin
Aykroyd
anymore.
and Hanks walking
and then roll
into
credits.
work together. Yeah, exactly. And there's just kind of like, he almost does a Ooga face, but
Auga.
it's not quite that. But you're just like, oh, I mean, all right. She is a person. Yes.
I also thought the movie was going to end with him saying just the facts.
Oh, that's a way better.
Because he's like,
that's
you
a way
didn't call her
better
the
line.
Virgin anymore.
That's a way
And
better line. You
I was
did
like,
it.
is it
Congratulations.
just the
You made
facts?
the movie 5% better with that one punch up. Yeah, better ending for sure. He shrugs first. He's like, he shrugs, just the facts, and then like turns and walks in, and Hanks does
There
like
you go.
a big like,
There, yep.
what? Like big face, right there is perfect. Yeah. I like this movie. Like I had a fondness for this movie as just something that I watched all the time.
It's
but
very cute.
I think this movie is very well done. It's I honestly think this might be the best Dan Aykroyd performance in anything. Like, there's some pretty heavy hitters, Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters. This is like, to me,
I don't know about that, but
I like the best parts of
Great Outdoors I really like.
Are him
He's
doing
really good
a
in that.
version of this lunatic character, I think. Like the cadence of him talking, where he goes starts rattling off stuff in Great Outdoors. I was really reminded of in this, where he starts rattling off facts in a very quick succession. The fast talky thing I thought was similar, but I like Dan Aykroyd. I'm a fan. I like a lot of stuff, but I like, as far as setting out to achieve something and executing it, this might be his best performance in my eyes. Of like, this is a kind of a weird thing he's trying to do, and I think he crushes it, and it's like a much harder thing he's trying to do here than he normally tries to do. So I might feel differently tomorrow if you ask me, but I really like this performance. I think it's really, really strong, and the movie's fun. Like, it's silly, and it feels like a revamp of something. Like, it feels like A Man Out of Time in the fun way. I don't know. I was really charmed by this. Like I said, I hardly wrote any notes because I was just enjoying the movie. And it's like, oh shoot, I'm doing this for the podcast.
Yeah, I definitely really like it. I think it's a little long, and with the few punch-ups I threw in the beginning of like really showing that he's a man from a different time, I think would have helped solidify things
It is
earlier.
unfortunately not,
but I like this movie a lot.
rental,
It's definitely
not,
recommend.
Free, or with subscription streaming anywhere. I meant to mention this with the Joe versus the Volcano, but interesting, another Hanks movie of the era that Ebert was just like a total big stand for, which is fun. Like, late 80s Raj and I would have gotten, early 90s Raj and I would have gotten along gangbusters in watching movies together. He suggested that this movie might have been better in black and white, which is probably true, but I would probably like it a little bit less. Because the original... Yeah, and like colorized.
Or if it started in black and white.
Yeah, that could have been
and
really
then when he
clever,
gets to the precinct, it's color.
They
I think that would have been...
that when it aired on TV, audiences would change the channel. But yeah, this is a strong recommend. I think this is really good and
100%.
really great. Like, I was hoping that we would end really strong with this like T Hanksgiving super month. That like I knew the Big was going to be a fun episode. I hope that you would like Joe versus the Volcano, and I hadn't watched this in forever, but I was like, I really feel like I remember this fondly. Yeah, so I was hoping that I would like it as much so that it didn't make this kind of a downer. But yeah, it's a really fun movie. Like, go check this out. Go find it somewhere. It really, really holds up very well. And it's, like I said, if you can fast forward the opening credits, which are about 3 minutes long, and you could turn it off right at the end and miss the nadir of rap as a genre, which is Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd rapping, which is like just the thing the world never needed. Yeah. And get yourself down to like a 100-minute movie, which is pretty solid these days. That's like barely qualifies as a movie. So that's the other thing. The new Ghostbusters is like 2:05, and it's like the original movie is an hour 40 something. How are you longer than that? Anyway, yeah, it's crazy. It's totally bonkers.
Because movies have to be long now, and it's
delete
awful.
Some stuff. Jesus, we delete stuff in this podcast. Anyway, go watch Dragnet. And thank you so much for listening to the show. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter at Dissect the 80s and Facebook, where it's Dissecting the 80s. You can find us there. Like I said at the top of the show, check out patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. We've got a bunch of fun stuff coming up there. Like I said, the December Patreon is Footloose, which will be very exciting. We're doing some schedule switcheroo, so unfortunately I don't have the next episode for you right at this moment. So check out the social medias, and I will post what it is as soon as we have that squared away. We had one thing in mind and then have had trouble tracking it down, and so we're switching it up. So check the social medias. I'll probably post it by the time this episode posts. It just won't be in the episode. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I have been Trip Lano. Until next time.
I will always be Andrew Lano. Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production. Ow.